Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another Hands Down DFS video. Ryan here, and we're going to be breaking down and recapping the Draftkings Week 3 Main Slate and reviewing how our lineup did, which, spoiler, was not very good, if you can see over to the right-hand side of the screen here. But before we get into our actual lineup, let's just take a look at the highest scorers of the Week 3 Main Slate. Josh Allen up here, 40.2 points. He was a guy that I know I was very high in. I think Scotty liked him as well. But definitely a guy we should have had more exposure to. Probably should have had him in our lineup. Washington's defense just isn't as good this year as they were last year. And even last year, they were susceptible to quarterbacks who could, scramble outside the pocket, get some rushing yards. Even though Josh Allen scored a touchdown on the ground, but most of his damage was done through the air. But just the ability to be mobile in the pocket really allowed him to put up big points. Mike Williams, we talked a lot about the Chargers Chiefs game. Chargers, surprising everyone, beating the Chiefs, but Mike Williams, another big game out of him. Matt Stafford, kind of a more obvious play, I guess. Nothing much to say there. Matt Stafford, Tom Brady, both good plays. Najee Harris was a guy that I know we said if Deontay Johnson isn't out, Najee Harris got a lot of work out of the backfield in week 2. So a guy we really liked in week 3. So good game from him. Herbert, there's that, Chargers game again. Cooper Kupp, 36% ownership. We talked about, he's like the best fantasy wide receiver, in the league right now. 36% ownership was very chalky, but, if you're going to put up 30 points every single week, you keep on playing Cooper Kupp. Do not stop. Nothing much to say about that. Now, if we want to look over at the guys who, had the highest ownership, the chalkiest guys, obviously we talked about Kupp. Hawkinson only 3 points. Kind of a surprise there as he's normally very relied on for Detroit. Austin Ekeler, the Chargers rather, the script was in their favor in terms of passing. Getting Herbert going with Ekeler out of the backfield as well as Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. It was something we kind of expected, and Ekeler, saw a pretty good game out of that. Returned 3x value, which isn't too bad. Right where we like to see him. So that was good performance by the chalk there. Barkley finally had a bounce back game. He had a good game with 20 points. Surprised by Godwin being this high owned, honestly. Didn't have a bad game. Mike Evans had an even better game, but 20% ownership on Godwin was pretty high. Guys like KJ Osborne, Marvin Jones Jr., who were just super cheap. Tyson Williams, you can throw in there as well. Just way too cheap for the volume they were getting. Kind of didn't really perform like we were expecting, but there was a reason they carried high ownership. It was kind of an obvious play when KJ Osborne was coming off of a week 1 and week 2 where he was seeing 6 to 9 targets or something. So it was a good play there. And then obviously Edwards-Helaire, I think everyone was touting him at only $4,800. Just way too cheap for a guy who was getting 15 touches a game and finally had a decent game. 16% ownership, 21 points, 4.35 value. It was a guy that we faded in our GPP lineup because, figured the ownership would be high, which it was. But, if he was returning 4x value, we knew that it was someone we would have played. But he was more of a cash game play for me. And then lastly, if we just look at the best value plays, Deshaun Jackson, out of nowhere, 24 points. I don't know what year it is, but apparently Deshaun Jackson is still putting up fantasy points, so good for him. 8x value, minimum priced. Other guys, Emmanuel Sanders, big game from Josh Allen. Stephon Diggs didn't do much. It was Emmanuel Sanders and Dawson Knox that were getting some points. Peyton Barber is interesting at 0.31%, returning 6x ownership. I really liked Kenyon Drake, and the same kind of went for Peyton Barber, and I didn't play Peyton Barber, and I probably should have realized, should have had more exposure to him as he had just as much volume as Drake once Josh Jacobs was out last week. So it was a play that kind of both of us should have seen. I know Scotty brought him up, but someone that we probably should have considered more heavily. I went more heavy on Drake, who had a decent game, but did not get the same volume on the ground that Peyton Barber did. 26 points, great value there. Josh Allen, even at 7,000, fantastic value. Mike Evans comes up again. Matt Stafford comes up again. So those are the guys that you wanted in your lineup if you want to take down a GPP. Look over to the right-hand side at our lineup. 113 points is, nothing to brag about. Nothing it's a week we're going to want to forget. And really it comes down to we picked a game stack between the Giants and Falcons, and it just didn't pan out. Daniel Jones and the Giants couldn't get it going. Sterling Shepard left the game early with an injury at only 3.6 points. Both those guys carried ownership too, so that, that hurt us also. We ran it back with Kyle Pitts, only 5.5 points from him, 12% ownership. Just, the game stack really did not work out. I guess the only bright spot in our lineup was our two running backs. Madison, once Dalvin Cook was ruled out, if you follow us on Twitter at HandsDownDFS, you'll see that we altered our lineup from our original breakdown video and threw in Madison in there. Ekeler, we talked about, great play. And then something interesting we did after, Scotty and I talked after we released our full breakdown video is, we figured the ownership on Kupp would be sky high. And it was. And it was just kind of, we thought, Tampa's a smart team. They're just going to double cover him. They're going to limit him. And why would we want to have exposure to a guy at, 30% ownership, which we thought he would be? I don't think he was that. Oh, yeah, he was 36% owned. So why would we want ownership? Why would we want exposure to a guy that's 36% owned if, that team's just going to double cover him? So we swapped him out for Tyreek Hill, and then instead of Jonathan Taylor, we picked Rondale Moore. So kind of two bad pivots there. If we keep Cooper Kupp in this spot, we'd have $1,600 to play with, and then we can look at who's available for that leftover salary. And a guy that both Scotty and I, we talked about, we really liked if Deontay Johnson was out, which is Najee Harris. So, we put Najee Harris in there. So even with a bad game stack, could have had, if we just stuck with our instinct, right, could have had 162 points. We would have been cashed. Fine, we move on with our lives on to week 4. But alas, made some bad last-minute pivots and kind of bit us. But you live and you learn, and we'll move on. And week 4, we'll aim to improve. Thank you guys for tuning in. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and follow along our channel as we release all our week 4 content this week. We'll hopefully have some prize picks videos up as well to get some little extra action in for you. So thanks for watching, and we'll catch you guys later this week.